So in this video, I wanted to do a quick review of this iPad case. It's called the Logitech Combo Touch. In this case, it's for the 8th generation iPad, but they still make this for the newer iPads up to the 10th generation, which is the current one right now. And this is I'd say relatively high-end iPad case, maybe about $125, something like that. Retail price would be more, but if you're buying it from Amazon or something, it'll be a little bit less than that. And the main thing with this case is it's a hard case. So you have a lot of protection for the iPad, which means it's appropriate for students and people that are walking around with this a lot. But also it has a keyboard and it has a trackpad. It's kind of a very complete case. It's not just for protection. You're adding the keyboard and then notably the trackpad. Logitech has other iPad cases which have the keyboard but don't have the trackpad. Like the Combo is the one with the track. On the outside, we see it has a sort of, it looks like it's a cloth material, but it's not. It has a little bit of texture, but it's a nylon. It's, I would say, like not as rough as the material of a backpack, but it has that appearance. It does have your holder for your pen, your iPen, whatever. The camera is accessible, the microphone is accessible, and it comes in other colors too. Here is the top, same sort of material. It doesn't have any sort of creases or here. This right here is actually the back, and you know it's the back because it has a kickstand and it has a sort of memory type feel to it. I don't know what it is, if it's a piece of metal in there or what, but it does stay pretty well. It's not great, but it's okay. We'll get to the kickstand later. So that's the outside of the case. We'll look at the box really quickly. It's the Logitech Combo Touch. Again, comes from all the newer iPads. In this case, it's the standard iPad. 8th generation. You could also buy this for the 10th generation. Apple does sell it directly, so that's cool. If you want to get it direct from them, feature-wise, you see the trackpad there, full keyboard, and then it has the removable keyboard. So if you want to use it kind of just to watch movies or whatever, then you can take the keyboard off very easily. And like I said, holder for the Apple Pencil or the Logitech Crayon. Back is adjustable, and there's that detachable keyboard. Okay, so here is the, keep putting it backwards. Here's the iPad case. If you were to open it up, there's the keyboard. See a full keyboard. It is backlit, so that's quite nice. We have, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 row keyboard. So you're getting all of the features you want. It's pretty close to the feel of a Mac keyboard. You don't have the travel. The key travel is much less than you would get from a standard keyboard, but that's because this piece is so thin. That's the detach action. It has that sort of smart connector there on the bottom. And if anything, I would say the biggest problem with this is that the removal action is very easy. Basically, this magnetic strip that holds it on is, I would say, less strong than I would like. It's easy to line up, but it comes off pretty easily. You know, you gotta be careful. You don't want it to come off too hard, so you gotta really rip it, but it comes off pretty easily. Let's watch that action again. The main thing that happens to make this disconnect is that you want to fold it back, and the keyboard just sort of goes back on itself and it falls right out. I think it's a really popular idea to think that you would just fold it into reading mode, but that's not how it works. When you don't want the keyboard, you have to disengage it entirely. Now you use it like this. You still have the kickstand, so that's good and it can stand on its own, but you can't fold this piece back. It'll just fall on the ground. And I've seen this keyboard action be dropped, the keyboard get dropped multiple times, usually through kids that are folding it back and it just kind of falls on the ground, but it's pretty harmless. Here's a keyboard, very thin, has some texture material here. This is the trackpad. That's a nice click to it. You really want to click it towards the bottom half, maybe even the bottom 2/3. But the click gets softer and softer as you go closer to the edge. That's just what it's kind of a hinge action, but works quite well. It has a glass feel to it. I don't think it's glass, but it feels nice. It has a little bit of texture, so it's comfortable to use. And when you're using this with the latest versions of iOS, you actually see the cursor moving around, which is quite nice. If you haven't used iOS or the iPad with the trackpad, it's actually a really nice experience, and it gives it much more of a desktop feel than the earlier iPads or iOS versions did with a case like this. Of course, have your easily accessible function keys, your play, pause, all that, volume, lock, find, and then the brightness. All of the stuff's quite useful there. This right here is not for, this is the screen brightness. This is for the backlighting brightness on the keyboard. It doesn't actually get that bright. It's like for using it in the absolute dark, or maybe like even a darkness of an airplane, you really barely see it. The backlighting is not great here. That's not a good reason to get it. Okay, here's the case itself. We'll take it out of the iPad. It's not that tight of a fit. I'll put it another way. I would say Logitech really nailed the fit of the iPad to the case. Some of these cases are practically, they feel impossible to get your iPad out of. This one I would say is quite manageable. It's not super easy because it would just fall out, but you're not really struggling to get it out. I've had some of these where you feel like you're going to break the iPad in half to get it removed from the case, and that's not here. They really nailed the fit. Hard plastic back, so you're getting a lot of protection from that. Again, there's the holder for your pen, the camera hole, microphone hole. You have built-in buttons. So basically you're pushing this to use the button. You're not actually, sometimes it's a little hole or a cutout, which means like in an edge case, you can get some water or rain or something through there into the, like between the case and the iPad. This one you have it's sealed, which I think is definitely the better option. It means the buttons are a little bit harder to push, but that's not really that big of a deal. There is your speakers and your charger, still on the Lightning with the 8. And here, this area is cut out. That's more for getting the iPad in and out and for making it accessible with your keyboard. That sort of magnetic rail goes right here. Opening up the flap or the kickstand, whatever you can see, it's just gives you a view to that hard plastic. You don't have that same material there. Closes quite nice, and this kickstand never opens up on its own. It's pretty stiff, and it's magnetically sealed at the bottom like that, so it doesn't ever come up on its own. To get the iPad back in the case, it's quite simple. You just want to find that camera right here, and you put it in, and you basically put these two corners in first. You put this corner in, this corner in, this corner in, this corner in. Basically, you want to make sure that this back is inserted first, and then the iPad will be pressed in pretty easily. And then you can see right here, we have a really nice fit. There's really almost no gap there, and the iPad is protected. So if you were to put it down on its face, it is on this rim here. It's not on the iPad, which is a really important protection feature. You want to make sure that basically the glass is never touching a surface. The case should always rise above the screen itself. The biggest problem I have with this case is how the magnet interacts with the case itself or with the iPad. It is just not as strong as a hold as I would like. It's functional, and during day-to-day usage when you're not like doing a video, yeah, it's typically fine, but it's not as good a feel, as a good hold as I would like. Now we'll just look at that kickstand. You can see this is your typical working behavior. This is adjustable and it's quite stable. This is clearly not a full desk. My desk is too messy to shoot a video on right now, but you have a nice action. It can go quite flat if you want, and if you you're standing up, you might want it flatter. If you're sitting down, you may want it more upright. That just depends on your personal preference. But kickstand works really nicely, and it gives you a good key action and very nice handling with the keyboard. It really is stable enough that you're getting some work done. Okay, so final thoughts on the Logitech Combo Touch iPad case. I've had a few keyboard cases for the iPad, and I'll say right now this is my current favorite. Logitech cases are on the expensive side, probably like twice the cost of like kind of I don't say a no-name, but like a unknown brand on Amazon, and up there with the Belkins and those sort of cases. But you're getting a lot of protection. This is appropriate for students. So if like you have a 5th grader or something that needs an iPad for school, you want a hard case, you need a keyboard, and you're probably going to end up spending either in the $30 to $50 range for the cheaper ones, or $100 to $180 for the more expensive ones. The combo case is a really nice mix, which you're getting the keyboard and the trackpad. The trackpad is worth it, I think. And then you're getting the hard case, which I think is important. And you're not adding a ton of weight to the iPad. This is definitely a heavy case. It's making the iPad to be pretty bulky, but it's not as bad as it could be. I've seen heavier cases than this, and given the protection you're getting, I think this is like probably the right mix. You could have something thinner, but you're probably not going to get the trackpad, and you're not going to get the protection. So I think this is a really good place for students. If you're older and you are a little bit more responsible with the device, you can go thinner and save yourself a lot of weight. This is getting into laptop territory. It's not quite as big as like a MacBook Pro and a 14 or a MacBook Air even, but it's getting pretty close. Anyway, it's a lot tougher than those. And if you drop this, it will be fine. I've seen it happen. If you drop a MacBook Air, from 3-4 feet, whatever, they usually break. That is the iPad case from Logitech. I like this one a lot, but it is on the expensive side and it's a bit bulky. Thanks for watching.